Thank you very much, Anderson. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I am Jagmeet Makkad. I'm the onset honorary secretary of the Hong Kong branch of the Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers. A very warm welcome to our distinguished panelists, Mr. Chang, Gilbert, Captain Vinay, and everybody else. So that, of course, our moderator is going to introduce you properly. I would also like to welcome Mr. Alistair Lawrence, MICS. Can you stand so that we can see you? And that's Alistair. He is member of Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers from New Zealand branch. And he flew into Hong Kong 3 days in advance so that he could also attend this event today. Can we give him a round of applause? So today we confront a profound injustice, the unfair criminalization of innocent seafarers. These are the men and women who move the world, yet they increasingly find themselves scapegoated, detained, and blamed for incidents far beyond their control, including made to work on the ship for many months when events like Black Swan, events like COVID happen, and rest of the world is taking precaution when they keep moving about, turning the wheels of the economy. This practice is devastating lives and threatening the very future of global shipping. But denying the problem is not enough. Our crucial question today is, how do we stop it? To guide this vital conversation, we are privileged to have our moderator, Captain Suresh Prabhakar. He brings a wealth of experience as an ex-master mariner, shipmaster. He has been in Hong Kong since 1992 and worked ashore in Jardine Ship Management and Pacific Basin Shipping, where he headed the technical department in both these companies before transitioning to commercial operations in Pacific Basin in 2006, that's 19 years, and headed this department for 17 years before retiring a few months ago. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Suresh Prabhakar. Sir, the floor is all yours.
Good evening, all. Thank you so much for taking the time out on a Friday afternoon to join the seminar. Firstly, I would like the panelists to take the seat. Can I invite Mr. George Lamploy from Home and Fenwick? Good. There. Next, I'd like to invite Captain Soma Sundarnaya from Fleet Management. Please sit next to George. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Gilbert Fung from the Hong Kong Shipowners Association. Next will be Mr. Shi Chiang from the Marine Department. And lastly, Captain Vinay Singh from Anglo Eastern Ship Management. The way I intend to run this panel discussion is, firstly, I will briefly give you a brief rundown on each of the panelists' biodata. Thereafter, I will set the scene as to why we are holding the seminar. Then we will address some questions. I'll address some questions to the panelists. And then lastly, we will throw it open to the house. You all can ask some questions to the panelists as well. All right, firstly, let's go here. No order. I'm going to start with Mr. Shi Chiang. Mr. Shi currently serves as the Deputy Director of the Hong Kong Marine Department, where he leads several departments, including local vessels and examination department, multilateral policy division, port state control division, and the shipping division. He began his career on board container ships as a deck officer. Then after obtaining his Master Mariner's qualification, he came ashore and held managerial positions in major shipping companies, focusing on marine operations and crew manning. 2007, Mr. Shi joined the Hong Kong Marine Department as government surveyor. Throughout his tenure till now, he has handled a diverse range of portfolios, including port state control, flag state administration, marine legislation, seafarers training and certification, and local vessel safety. Welcome to the panel, Mr. Shi. Next is Mr. George Lamplugh. Mr. George Lamplugh is an Admiralty and Crisis Management lawyer and a partner at the international shipping law firm Holman, Fenwick & Whelan in Hong Kong, better known as HFW. He specializes in civil and criminal aspects of marine casualties, including collision, salvage, groundings, fire, total loss, wreck removal, piracy and kidnap for ransom, cyber fraud, extortion, and cross-border fraud. George and HFW's wider complex environments team have won international corporate social responsibility awards from prominent organizations, including Lloyd's List Global Awards, the United Nations Security Council, commending the work of Hostage Support Partnership in securing the release of 26 hostages from the vessel Nahum 3. This story is now featured in The Negotiator, now streaming on major platforms, including Netflix and Apple TV, which offers a rare and in-depth look behind the modern maritime hostage negotiation. George handled the criminal aspects of the Court of Final Appeal judgment in the Kulmisen, which arose out of the 2008 collision in Hong Kong between Yao Hai and Nefti Gas 67. This is the leading case on mens rea for criminal offending in Hong Kong. Welcome, George. Captain Vinay Singh is the Group Managing Director of Marine HR and Anglo-Eastern Ship Management in Hong Kong and has the huge responsibility of overseeing almost 40,000 seafarers. I repeat, 40,000 seafarers. Captain Singh is an experienced shipmaster with 45 years experience in the shipping industry, of which 25 are in crew management services. During his 40 years with Anglo-Eastern Shipping, he has been instrumental in developing a strong HR culture and digitalization processes, and in creating several strong seafarers' well-being programs. During his long and distinguished tenure as the head of India operations for Anglo-Eastern, he was the chairman of the Maritime Association Ship Owners and Managers, member of the National Welfare Board of Seafarers, and various other bodies. Welcome, Captain Singh. Mr. Gilbert Fang. Mr. Gilbert Fang is currently the Deputy Director at the Hong Kong Ship Owners Association, with whom he has worked for 31 years. He specializes in China affairs. He is from a Shanghai-based shipping family. After graduating from Shanghai Maritime University, he worked in the COSCO Group and in China Merchants in Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Hong Kong, in the ship operations, sale and purchase, and marine insurance sectors. Under his guidance, the Hong Kong Ship Owners Association played a key role in the negotiation between Hong Kong and Taiwan for shipping arrangements post-1997. He also participated in the IMO deliberations when the Maritime Labour Convention in 2006 was formed. He is currently the Secretary for the China Subcommittee in Hong Kong for the HKOSOA, Chairman of the Port Welfare Committee of the Marine Department. He is the founding member of the Alumni Association of the Shanghai Maritime University, and he's also a visiting professor at Shanghai Maritime University and Wuhan Maritime College. Welcome, Mr. Gilbert Fang. And last but not least, Captain Soma Nair. He is the Executive Director of Fleet Personnel Department and Fleet Management Limited in Hong Kong, oversees global crewing for over 600 ships for this giant ship management company, with whom he has worked for 5 years. He is an experienced shipmaster with 16 years seagoing experience with Anglo-Eastern Ship Management and Great Eastern Shipping. He's been ashore for 20 years, Anglo-Eastern Fleet Management, of which 16 have been in crew management. He's a member of the Seafarers Advisory Board in Hong Kong and also contributes to the Marine Education and Training Subcommittees of the HASOA. Lastly, he is a keen sportsman who excels in cricket, golf, and table tennis. Welcome all of you. Welcome. Okay, I'm just going to set the scene first before we start asking questions to the panelists. Am I coming through clear?
Yeah.
All right. All of you know here in this room, many of you are seafarers. 3 of the panelists are ex-seagoing people. One of them went to a maritime college in Shanghai, that's Mr. Gilbert. And George has been in shipping longer than all of us in this room. He's an honorary seafarer. Welcome, Captain George. So, you know, all of us have a great passion for seafarers, and seafarers are treated badly. It really hurts. The criminalization of innocent seafarers has sharply risen in the last few years. This is happening from multiple causes. I'm not talking just piracy or abandonment of crew. I'm talking about multiple causes, like accidents, drug seizures, wrongly declared cargo. We've had crew members stuck in jail, given 30-year sentences in places like Turkey. We've had masters stuck in jail in Honduras for 2 years, Mexico for 2 years, Algeria for 3 years. And in 3 and 4 years, when people are stuck on board ships, not on ships, in jails and custody, that's like 30% of the sea area gone. 30% of the sea area is spent in a prison. It's simply not on. How can you attract new seafarers to sea and say, hey, look, you know, this is the real world. You could finish up in prison. Nobody's going to come out to sea. We've got to change all that collectively. We've got cases of a master who's sitting in Indonesia in a jail for 8 years now because he had a pilot on board. He dropped an anchor on an oil pipeline with the pilot on board, which was wrongly marked, and he's been in jail for 8 years. We've got several crew members who've been in jail for about 8 to 9 years in Madagascar because they carried a wrongly declared cargo of timber on board, which they had no clue what it was. We got a master who's been detained in Sri Lanka for 4 years, purely because no country would accept the ship, Express Pearl, 2021. No country would accept that ship because she was leaking chemicals. UAE rejected her, India rejected her, Pakistan rejected her, finally Sri Lanka rejected her, finally the ship broke up, exploded and sank. The master did a stellar job in getting all his crew ashore safely, but he's still there, languishing in Sri Lanka, not in prison, but he's still there. So this is, in most cases I'm talking about innocent seafarers getting victimized and criminalized. Seafarers are not trained to carry drugs or illicit cargoes, trained to carry cargoes, proper cargoes from point A to point B and safely navigate the ship. Yes? Not illicit cargoes. You know, seafarers, high-time seafarers are shown the same respect as airline pilots and managers, general managers of malls and buildings. How often have you heard of pilots being detained in jail or planes being detained in the port because they found 20 kilograms of cocaine on board? How often have you heard a general manager of a mall being detained because they found some cocaine in a woman's toilet or something? Never. Then why on earth should the ship captain suffer all this? It's simply not right. The capacity of a ship is bigger than a mall. The capacity of a ship is bigger than planes. There are more hiding places. Why should the master suffer? Why should the crew suffer? That's why this panel is here, okay? We must put seafarers in boardrooms everywhere, in everything we do first. It's got to be seafarers first. It's no use giving lip service and saying, seafarers are our biggest asset. Then prove it. Do what you say. Don't just say seafarers are the biggest asset. They have to be put first in every action you take in an office. There should be zero tolerance to this sort of nonsense where seafarers are victimized and criminalized. International bodies, ship owners, managers, everybody must speak in a unified and a collaborative voice if we're going to solve this problem. It's got to be, everybody must share their problems transparently. Many seafarers don't even know when they go to sea that they are not covered insurance-wise. The P&I insurance is discretionary in criminal cases. The P&I club can walk away. And to get drug seizure insurance is very difficult. There's a very limited market there for it. And it's very limited cover and it's extremely expensive. There should be uniform handling of cases when drugs are found. Like Australia, New Zealand, United States, even Brazil, UK, Belgium, Netherlands, these countries, they know when you're trading between a high-risk port and their countries. High-risk port means, I mean, Brazil, Ecuador, Peru, Colombia. These are high-risk drug shipping ports. And when they find drugs in US, Europe, and other countries, Australia and New Zealand, they don't detain the ship, they don't detain the crew. They do a quick investigation and let the ship go and let the crew go. But in many other countries like Turkey, India, Honduras, Mexico, they detain the crew, detain the ship, which is not on. So armed with all this, I thought I'd set the scene. Armed with all this, let's go on to the panelists now. All right? There's going to be no order whatsoever. I'm going to throw random questions at you. And but I will specifically say whom I'm asking that question from. And I would like you to answer that question. All right, let's direct the first question to the regulators. Mr. Shi, the first question is for you. No doubt, with all these cases of unfair criminalization of seafarers, no doubt the Hong Kong Marine Department at some stage has been involved in a case or two. Would you be kind enough to share the details of any important case that you work for? And speak from the heart, you're an ex-seafarer yourself. Please, there's a mic right in front of you.
So first of all, thank you, Captain Suresh, for giving the first question to me.
You're welcome.
And regarding the major case, let me see. Let me put it that way. This is the case that I personally involved in dealing with, and also it shocked me quite heavily. But since you were from Pacific Basin, so maybe I ask your permission, can I review that case?
Please.
Yeah, you know this Captain Yu's case.
Yes, I do.
So, and this captain was captured due to related to a drug smuggling case. And I won't go to detail of the nature, but after, because Captain Suresh asked me from the regulator point of view and from a seafarer's point of view. And let me put it the short one first. My first feeling is I don't even know that country before this case. And since this case happened, then I start to look at the map. So where's this country and why?
Honduras.
Right, yeah. I didn't mention it.
No, please be free. As I said,
Yeah.
free. Be free. Gotta be transparent in these things.
So then for the regulatory for Hong Kong Marine, but let me give everyone just a short introduction of the Hong Kong Shipping Registry. Because we are with our Chinese government, Hong Kong Shipping Registry is independent, but we have we are in the same IMO membership because the China is the full membership and Hong Kong is the associate member. So everyone knows that Hong Kong is part of China, but we have this autonomic shipping registry in relation to this foreign affairs, because this is a foreign country and Hong Kong ships got some issue in that country. So as a regulatory, first we talk with of course the ship owners and operators, and then we seek assistance from our country because this is not a marine matter. And as this criminal case involves, so it's related, it's already outside the jurisdiction of their maritime administration. So for Hong Kong Maritime, we have this IMO platform, right? And in IMO, all the administration of marine gathered there. So we approached them, but they said this is already a legal issue. So I think we have a lot of lawyers here. When it becomes legal issue, it becomes complicated because we don't want to involve in the sovereignty of another country. So we cannot comment in their legal proceedings, legal procedures. So we seek assistance from our country because foreign affairs of Hong Kong will be taken care of by our central government. And they are very helpful. They have always been very helpful for Hong Kong Shipping Registry. Whenever we encounter problems, we will seek their assistance because they have these diplomatic channels. But unfortunately, at that time, Honduras does not have diplomatic relation with our country, with China. So we have to go through a neighboring country, and they appoint someone because there's no official connection between the two countries. So they approach Chinese resident, Chinese originate, but is Honduras citizen in that country to use his influence to try to understand the case. So that is, put it in short, I think that case lasted around 2 years, and at last, the captain was released after several trials, and he was back to his home. But that had caused a lot of damage, and especially emotional, also physically to the captain. He had very, I think he doesn't want to go to sea again. So that's a sad story. But from that story, we feel, when this happens, from the regulatory side of point of view, first we need to cooperate with the ship owners, and also we need assistance from our country because diplomatic approach should be one of the solution, as in my point of view. And regarding these international frameworks, it works because we try to approach Honduras representatives in the International Maritime Organization. But as I mentioned before, because these already is out of the maritime jurisdiction, so they can only relay the message, but they cannot do much about it. And second thing is during our talk with the ship company, and we also understand the company is doing a very good job to help the master. They try to involve, try to recruit best lawyers locally, both locally or internationally. And I think that is also very important. The support from the ship owners, operators, managers is also very important for the group. And I think let me stop here, and then we can.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I would like to address the same question to George of Monophonic. And pick one case where you handled, which was where crew members, a crew member, a set of crew members were criminalized, indiscriminately criminalized, and arrested or whatever.
I can't say that I have come across a case myself where a member of the crew of the ship that I represented was unfairly criminalized by a proper jurisdiction. I do know and am aware that there are cases like that out there. I think the problem really is with the word unfair, because often you don't quite know whether something is fair or unfair until full investigation is completed. The unfair criminalization of seafarers is not actually a problem, in my view, because problems can be solved. It's a dilemma. it's something that we have to live with. There are three possible solutions. One is for the world to correct its legal systems in such a way that innocent people are not prosecuted. But I think that's a far-fetched vision. Another possibility is not to trade to complex environments, but that's not realistic at all. And the third possibility is to act with extreme care and vigilance and do whatever you can to mitigate the risks. Now, in a smuggling case, for example, that would involve ensuring that your ship's security protocols have been followed, ensuring that your port watch is very carefully handled. And that's something that the master and chief officer have obvious obligations in respect of. Perhaps in the ship owner's perspective, to ensure that the crew are properly trained, so if there are accidents, that they have a full understanding and working understanding of the collision regulations. To ensure that their ships are sent to sea in shape condition, they do act with due diligence to ensure that they send seaworthy ships to sea. But the legal systems of foreign jurisdictions, they're different. And as Mr. Shi has said, you have to be very careful before you criticize them. Because the legal system, I've always thought, really is a reflection of the shared morality of the people who live in that country. And it may be different to ours, but it is theirs. And their legal system is there to protect their country, and the criminal law is there as the cornerstone of that protection. And in every jurisdiction, the criminal process is reasonably similar. The criminal process identifies crime, it investigates crime, identifies wrongdoers, and brings them to trial. A verdict is then handed down, guilty or not guilty, and then comes the sentencing process. And the sentencing process is there to do two things really. The first is to punish the offending, and the second is to deter future offending. And all governments, all legal systems around the world have that approach. Difficult to criticize. But there are instances where the wheels do fall off. And the cases you have mentioned are obviously very tragic. But even in Hong Kong, we have had cases. I was heavily involved in the trial, all the way called final appeal, on the tragic collision between Nifty-Gas 67 and Yaohai. Yaohai, a large mainland registered bulk carrier, and Nifty-Gas 67, a much smaller supply vessel. Everybody on the bridge of Yaohai, the master and two pilots were prosecuted. Everybody on the bridge of the Nifty-Gas 67 was prosecuted. I think the Hong Kong Department of Justice made the mistake of over-prosecuting. You prosecute everybody, then you don't have any witnesses. When that case first came across my desk, I think it's fair to say, I think I can say, that I said to the master, you should not be prosecuted because you are not competent to navigate your ship in Hong Kong waters. You must employ not one pilot, but two pilots. And I said to the junior pilot, you should not be prosecuted because you are a junior pilot. You don't have the authority to pilot this ship. Your job is to assist the senior pilot. And I said to the senior pilot, the master of the other ship is going to be prosecuted. You're going to be prosecuted too. But having looked at the evidence, my view is that you had a reasonable excuse, you had an honest belief on reasonable grounds as to what you were doing. And the sad thing is that it took a long journey to the Court of Final Appeal to establish that. And as it transpired, all three mariners on board the Yao Hai were acquitted or had their convictions quashed. And the master of the other vessel was convicted, his conviction was upheld, and he spent time in prison. But the Hong Kong legal system is proper. The Hong Kong criminal legal system is proper. But mistakes can still be made. And it's a tough business. But it's tougher in complex environments.
Right. Thanks, George. Soma, would you like to run through quickly an incident you guys have been involved in?
First of all, thank you, ICS, for having me on the panel here for this very, very apt and important topic for discussion. And I would like to take a cue from what your introduction was about this case in Indonesia, and that actually happened in fleet management. So it was a bulk carrier coming out of port in Indonesia, fully loaded, under pilot. There were some operational reasons for which he had to anchor there. Some miscommunication between the master and pilot, and the master let go the anchor. The chief officer actually noticed that okay, he had anchored a little bit too earlier than what the earlier instructions were. It was picked up, later the vessel went in and it was about 4 days later, it came to light that there was a pipeline underneath which the anchor addressed. There was a leak, and the leak was only noticed about 4 days later. And this is a very big oil major in Indonesia who owns the terminal and pipelines. And it so happened that there was fishing boats around that area, and it is assumed that there was one of them smoking, and through the cigarette butts of the fishing boat actually caught fire, and 5 lives were lost. That fire actually spread onto the ship as well, and turned out to a big disaster with 5 deaths and the oil pollution. The full Chinese crew on board, the master and the full crew were taken. The master was big cases against him going on. The pilot, of course, went home scot-free, nothing against him. And as you rightly said, after the case was fought, he was convicted of 10 years in prison, plus 1 more year unless a fine of $1 million was to be paid. So as it stands today, he's still behind bars in Indonesia. As a company, we are supporting him. We still have the legal case going on. We still continue to pay the wages for him. And the owner, in this case, we don't have any more ships with that owner, and he's kind of, no relations with us as fleet manager. Very unfortunate case, and still continues. We are hoping that early next year this captain can be released. It was something which we have experienced, and the case is still going on.
Thank you, Captain Soma. That's a very sad case. Mr. Gilbert, Frank, would you like to share something the Shipowners Association have been involved in?
Thank you, Captain Bradler. Actually, we have also handled a few cases. And the major case, the case I think Mr. Sucha just mentioned, is Captain Yu Hai's case. Actually, we have spent a lot of efforts in raising global concerns and the efforts to help Captain Yu Hai, who was detained in Honduras for 20 months since late 2021. For the alleged offense of gravity drug smuggling. Actually, in addition to talking to the Marine Department, we have also talked to the Central Government Liaison Office in Hong Kong and the Commission Office of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and also we paid special visit to Beijing to pay visit to the Ministry of Transport and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And just as Mr. Su mentioned, at that time, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they are very helpful, but they said due to the China does not have diplomatic relationship with Honduras. There's very little we can do. But later, they called me and said, now it's a good news because we have established public diplomatic relationship with them, and now we can do something. And I think later, very soon, and Captain Yu was released after the trial. And I think that was in August 2023. And he returned home. So, and thank you very much. I think it was last year. You arranged lunch with him, and it is very good to see he recovered very well. And now he also picked up his own business, started his own business in many. I must say, it is very important for seafarers to select a ship owner, like Pacific Basin, which are very responsible ship owners. So I think who can take care of him during his long period of suffering time, and also take care of his family. I think he's very fortunate.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert Fong. And again, on behalf of Pacific Basin, thanks to both of you, the Shipowners Association and Marine Department, for helping Pacific Basin with Captain Yu's case. Now, last but not least, Captain Vinay, would you like to share something?
So we had a case a couple of years back where one of our ships sailed from Colombia, and after sailing out outside the harbor, it was checked by dog squad, the drug checks were carried out, and then she reached Turkey, and where I think some internal information, whichever way police came, and they knew where to check in the chain locker, which could be accessed actually from outside, even while the ship was at anchor in Colombia. And they found a packet of drugs. And ultimately, the ship was being sold in the same port. So the ship was simply allowed to go after the crew was arrested. And 4 crew were detained actually for over 1.5 years. Because they had signed a checklist which said that they had checked the chain locker. The chain locker was actually bolted, and it was no way you could see it was never being opened actually. And the poor crew, I mean, they just because there was a cadet, including who never knew anything actually what he was signing was. And so all the efforts were being made, and obviously in such case, actually the clubs walked away. The owners were not there anymore. The company and was not to support everything out initially, and till the case was resolved. And we had to seek actually help from all bodies around the world. So whether it was BINCO, whether it was ICS, whether it was Ship Owners Associations, and everybody in the world, IMO included, we had to approach both ITF, everybody put the pressure, including the consular of the country of origin. Case, the way it works is that nobody knows what is the charges actually for maybe months and years. It is not really formed. What is the allegation coming to? People don't understand. And there is a pressure on, we came to know that we had to keep the case low absolutely. That there was a pressure on Turkey that there are smuggling going on from Turkey to EU for drugs. So they want to make a public case of catching up the drugs. So it is in media everywhere that drugs have been caught. And ultimately, after 1.5 years, we really don't know what worked. Of course, all the lawyers, everything was there. Suddenly the prosecutor reduced the charges and they were allowed to bail and people could come back. Yes, it's something like that. But maybe 18 months, people were outside. They were not in jail, but they were detained outside, and they have to stay in hotel.
You've been released now?
They will just come back a couple of 3 months back.
Very sad. All right, let me address this to Mr. Gilbert, this question. Next question. In the Shipowners Association's view, Hong Kong Shipowners Association's view, can you very briefly give me 3 points, 3 steps, which will stop unfair criminalization of seafarers?
Three steps, right?
3 points.
Okay, the Hong Kong Shipowners association will usually take several actions to support both the seafarers and the ship owners for the betterment of seafarers. We are serves as a respect voice for the shipping sector and actively represent the interests of its members at various forums as through the multiple channels. So the association will usually engage with the relevant authority to ensure the rights of the detained crew members and are upheld and their processes followed. So this is one thing we will do. And second, we will coordinate with Marine Department and the other relevant government bodies to facilitate communications between the ship owners, the detained crew, and authorities. And the third one, we will previously coordinate assistance to seafarers in address. Normally we'll coordinate with the relevant partners. But this respect.
All right, Mr. Gilbert, can I ask Captain Singh for the same answers? Give me 3 practical steps which can be taken to prevent seafarers being criminalized in the maritime. Yeah.
So, Dr. Prabhakar, I was there in the seminar when you spoke, and I was seminar about criminalization, and which was very hard hitting. But a lot of information came out during that how after COVID, the drug smuggling by ships has increased by 600%. And that was the data given out that because now these guys have figured out that the ships are a bigger speeds, they can go more the kind of cargo onto that, and also they keep moving even in COVID. So the first step, what we did actually after the seminar was that, of course, our people was released, but we had strengthened the search processes. If you're going to high risk areas, correct warning to the crew, guidance, training. We put up special videos of how to check what to do onto the ships. Then we put up second step that we started checking with owners if we can divert the ship to a third port before she goes to final port, where she can be searched by a separate teams to take away whatever things are there if something is found, so that systems are available. So this was the procedural thing which we had done. But what we focused more on, that after that we have gone to various seminars with our crew. Thousands of people actually have addressed how to be vigilant about drug smuggling, how not to sign without checking everything is correct. So first thing was awareness, increased crew awareness. Second thing was our processes, which we strengthened, that how to check the ships, how to ensure that these drugs or anything don't happen. And third thing what we set up was, what was once again pointed out in the seminar, that if something does happen, then what to do. And the biggest takeaway which I got there was that you must notify the club within first 1 hour. So we have given instructions to masters, change our processes. The reason was, what as pointed out by George, that each country has a separate law. And before the policeman comes and starts framing his allegations, somebody has to intervene and guide him that this is seafarers, he's not really responsible for the cargo, not really, he's just navigating the ship. And if you don't intervene at that point of time, once the records are made, then there is a problem. Also, what statements are given out, so we guided people, how you will make statements, how you will record evidence. So all these kind of trainings are the way to make sure that all 3 levels, the shore officers, the ships, and the training is covered up.
Thank you. Mr. Shi?
I agree both of them. And in addition, I want to emphasize the prevention. As George mentioned just now, we must be very cautious, especially if we go to so-called high-risk countries. And actually, we have existing systems like the ISM, ISPS code, and they can all be enhanced to ensure the ship is less vulnerable to be used as criminal tools. And of course, this involves a lot of training and enhancement in the system, both on board and also from office. And second, I think, Ian, just in case unfortunately case happens. And the support from the company is very important. And because they need a lot of resources to help those seafarers, both locally, internationally, including the liaison with the authorities and also the communication and cooperation with the flag and other port authorities. And the third one, I think, is the industry need to join together, to have some guidance or voices to give some pressure to those, if we can identify some countries very how to say, it's quite often to find this kind of unfair treatment. I think the industry should have some measures to like alert the ships, alert the owners, alert the operators that these places have happened certain things. We don't label any country, but I think that the risk control, the risk assessment should be done with among the industry. That's my 3 points.
Thank you, Mr. Shi. Sumit?
Apart from what Captain Miller and Mr. Shi have mentioned, a lot of valid points, right? So purely looking at the cases of drugs, the few countries you're talking about, right? Some of them you mentioned in your opening address. So to me, if the problem is from there, the solution also needs to be kind of coming from there. Why not have a system where the country, when the vessel comes out, departs from the respective ports in that country, stops few hours, and the country they said there has to be a mechanism where the ship is checked, searched, validated by them of being drug free, and then goes on a voyage. Implementation may be a challenge, but a little bit also out of box thinking, right? With respect to other things like we have a mechanism of not really these kind of crimes, but there is a mechanism like international criminal courts, right? For other reasons. When you are talking about criminalizing of seafarers, so there is definitely, with the IMO and the member states, there could be a system where seafarers, in case if they are unfairly treated, there has to be a third party, unbiased court which can look at these and then decide whether there is need for prosecution. So these could two things which I've been thinking about on what could we do out of box to make sure the seafarers are not unfairly criminalized.
Both very valid points and good out of box thinking. Thanks so much. George?
Thank you, Suresh. I'm not sure the 3 steps can stop or prevent the unfair criminalization of seafarers, but I do think there are steps that we can take to mitigate it. Firstly, to train our crews well. As Captain Benes said, if you haven't checked the chain locker, don't tick the box that you've checked it, because that is evidence that can be used against the person whose job it was to check the chain locker. An adverse inference can be drawn that the reason you ticked that box was to ensure that the authorities did not bother to check the chain locker. And people get suspicious. I think it's important to keep this issue high on the political agenda between governments and between flag states. And the flag states should be talking about this between each other and one another all the time. But I think a very key practical point is the importance of good legal representation. And that has to be financed. And the ship owners should be encouraged to do that. And PMI clubs, in my experience, are very good at it. The IG PMI clubs are fantastic, in my experience. But I don't often get to act for ratbag ship owners. I tend to act for the very best. Which is why I said before that my personal experience of some of these terrible cases is limited because they don't really fall on my desk. So ship owners have to be watched carefully to make sure they, as I said before, send good ships to sea, well crewed, well trained, with legal representation when these things happen, and prompt legal representation. The lawyers have got to be in play as soon as possible before the investigation starts.
Thank you, George. I know that I've got a few more questions. Like we gotta move forward. Once we're at it, I know Pacific Basin has been hit twice by these incidents. Pacific Basin has taken various precautions as well. There's a large contingent of Pacific Basin people here. May I ask the closest one to me, Munish, do you wanna, what measures does Pacific Basin take to when they go to high-risk drug ports, for example?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Suresh, for moderating this very important topic. So as everybody identified, like prevention is better than cure in these cases. What we do as an owner, we have enhanced our, after these cases, definitely we have enhanced a lot. So the key things is enhancing your hardware aspect and the software aspect. When I say software aspect, we have enhanced the trainings as mentioned by the panelists. And so that is what is other thing. And then we have also invested a lot into the hardware aspects, like having the proper access control. So we have automated turnstile systems where, face recognition, everybody is recorded, who's coming on the ship, who's going. And then crew usually is totally involved in on the strict watches during the sports. We usually do not push them to do any heavy maintenance during these times, just put all the concentration. And then apart from that, like there are a lot of other hardware things that we've employed. Apart from the ship CCTV cameras, we get cameras on the shore, 10 extra, and 24 hours they've been monitored. Once everything is completed, ship is about to depart, then there's a dock search, there's underwater search by an external company. Moreover, like we have also tried artificial intelligence cameras on the ships. The trial has been successful. It's very positive. So it gives like alarm directly whenever it's these all are the gadgets to help the seafarers, because these days there are limited crew on board and they cannot be awake all the time and see. So these things are helping. And apart from that, like there are certain innovative things like underwater drones, which we have provided to our ships. So once the ship departs, even there is a diver search, if there is a doubt that sometimes in these places, even these divers are also colluded with these, gangs, and also they may be, they might unsee some areas. So we have these drones, which, our masters usually once they depart, they go to a good, nice sheltered place and they put these drones down and have a look around and to make sure that everything is. So at the end of the day, all these things are helping. Moreover that, we have gone further. We have a newly established global security operations team based in London. So they are all ex-intelligence officers, and they have a good intelligence network as far as this drug smuggling is concerned. So usually whenever our ships are going to these ports, we consult them, and then they will do a complete risk assessment, and then they'll come up with thing. And in this assessment, they have the intelligence input also. So all these things are the things that we are doing it. We are like briefing all our senior staff in the offices and telling them very, very carefully to be very careful about these matters. So, these are the things.
Thank you, Munish. Just to add to Munish what he just said, I know the Pacific Basin at ports like Santos, they hire a patrol boat throughout the port stay on the offshore side. So each call to Santos for Pacific Basin is costing $20,000 US for security. Each call to any south and high-risk ports is costing approximately about $12,000. Other ports. The security desk, which Munish referred to, is like we hired three specialists. One's a British intelligence officer who was ex-NATO. He heads it, and then alongside it with American Navy specialist intelligence lady, and then the hardcore British security expert with all of life and security. These three non-seafarers, but they know a lot about ships, know a lot about intelligence, they know a lot about security, and they have incredible networks. That's what we've hired. So we spent a lot of money to make sure it doesn't happen again to us, to Pacific Basin. Now, just, Mr. Sheen, can I ask you a question? Say under the Hong Kong flag, you have a situation where you are dealing with an incident. And you find that the ship owner of that, even he may be a big ship owner, small ship owner, doesn't matter, but under the Hong Kong flag, the ship owner is neglecting the crew. He basically is not looking after the crew interests. You can see it's very clear to you. Would you, at the Hong Kong flag, without hesitation, look at deregistering that ship from the flag?
Quick answer is sure, we need to address it. And the way, the measures, I think we cannot deregister a ship just based on one thing. But actually, these a lot of tools we can use. And firstly, and the big umbrella is the MLC, as you mentioned. If this is a crew treatment issue, the MLC have empowered we in the local legislation for Marine Department to issue certificates, do inspections. And also the next layer is the ISM, and we can do a company audit to see whether it's implemented all the IMO standards. And if we found any deficiencies, we can have several tools actually. The first one is the MLC certificate can be withdrawn. So the ship have to be rectified. But if that's even worse, then the company DOC can be withdrawn. And the last is regarding the deregistration of the ship. So far, as per the legislation of Hong Kong Shipping Registry, and the deregistration threshold is very high, and must be related to safety and also including the treatment of the safety of the seafarers. But that must be related to the safety. So, but we are, for everyone's information, we are now reviewing our registration laws, so can make empower the Marine Department with more facilities to decide the deregistration and to decide which kind of ship we don't like them to be registered under Hong Kong. So that is in progress. But definitely, yes, the flag state have a very important role to ensure those companies to comply with all the regulations which involve the fair treatment of seafarers.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Thank you so much. Just the answer I want to hear. So, Captain Vinay, let me put the same question to you in a different manner. Say you guys are dealing with an incident in Mango East, which is the biggest ship manager in the world today, if I understand correctly. And you find it's a fairly significant owner, but this owner has got this bad habit of not looking after the crew properly. Would Anglo Eastern, as a company, take the stance of saying, sorry guys, if you can't look after the crew, we can't deal with you, we gotta break partnership with us?
Actually, our kind of vetting before we take in a client is very high. So, but even then, we did have a case where owner didn't support the initially. And I'm sure that we would find very difficult to manage a ship with any owner who doesn't support the crew. Of course, our responsibility remains to support, so we will support the crew, and we have done in these cases. And there have been smaller cases where owners specifically came up and they helped fully. So I think it's a very rare incident, but if it does happen, I don't think there is any other option. But if your owner is not supporting the crew, very difficult to support the owner.
Thank you. Soma, same question to you.
The simple answer is yes. And then we have done it in the past, not only just with respect to welfare, but generally with respect to the thought process, with maintenance and everything which goes around with the operation of a vessel. And if the thought process does not get aligned, then for sure, the fleet management does not have a hesitation to tell them thank you very much. And if there's specific questions about this, which one or what, we can talk about it when we are
Right. Can I address this question to somebody in the crowd here? Rowan James. Rowan is the chartering manager in Pacific Basin. Let me throw the same question to you. Say Pacific Basin has got a ship chartered in, and that ship has had an accident, and we find as the charterer that the owner is not playing ball and he's not looking after his crew interests. Would we look at not doing business with that owner ever again?
I have first-hand experience where I've got first-hand experience where I have chartered a ship. During the charter, we have heard that provisions are not adequate on the ship, fresh water, etc., not adequate. And it's very simple things, but what I would say is it indicates there's a lot worse happening on board, and you know, shipping's very hard. I'm not quite sure why struggling here, but I think particularly over COVID, where we saw lots of crew members struggle away from home. When you hear a very simple aspect of, you know, what owners should be doing for their crew, and they're not being fulfilled, that does make you feel very strongly that you should not work with owners that allow that to happen. So, from personal experience, yes, we have not fixed with owners on this basis. Any indication that owners are not up to it, and we will either flag it internally and say we have to do adequate checks, or we just say these guys are not for us, we'll move on to the next ship.
Let me reframe the question in a different way. Assuming we are with the charterer now, not a ship owner charterer, not a holding door for it. I think somebody like, say, PHP, all right? And they've got something in the charter party about crew matters and, you know, what they're supposed to be. So we have a situation, we find a big charterer is not living by the clause of the charter party and not supporting our crew in a certain case, if we need to. What would be the stance of our chartering desk for that?
I think that's where we have to push back. That's where the entire organisation gets involved, right? And if we have a big charter that isn't there to support crew, if I'm getting this the right way around, then I mean that is everyone's job, right, to push back.
All right, good, thank you. Do you all think that in the panel here, do you think that cases of crew criminalization gets widely publicized quick enough? Do you think that P&I clubs circulate the messages fast enough? Do ship owners share with each other information fast enough? Or is it just too long?
I think information doesn't get spread because, first of all, legally it is not okay. The lawyers will advise is not that. Secondly, the countries, the case could be jeopardized, countries could get upset. So generally speaking, what we have seen is this locally. Internally, of course, within the industry bodies, it will be circulated, but not to the outside.
Yeah, you know, 2019 pre-COVID, there were like 12 instances of drug smuggling from Barranquilla in Colombia to Altamira, Ensenada, in Mexico. 12 bulk carriers, 7 bulk carriers for container ships. And it was only after these 12 happened that the IG group came together and put out a circular. You know, by the time the circular came out, the damage had already been done. A Polish master had already finished up, staying 2 years longer in jail in Mexico. So yeah, I think information doesn't get shared enough. I know that Pacific Basin as a company, in both our cases, we were right all over it. The ship owners and certainly with Soma for sure. Athlete management, navigation to a degree as well. We shared with you guys and Marine Department, Chinese government when necessary, Philippines government when necessary. So we were very vocal about it. Even though maybe lawyers and clubs may not like all that, but the point is like transparency is key here. Putting all this in perspective, surely it doesn't get shared enough. But let me ask George you a question. Do you think in cases of ships getting criminalized, particularly say for drugs, which is one of the biggest things now, in sort of say fragile jurisdictions, do you think somebody like an independent body, as Captain Soma mentioned, like say Interpol, they take the lead? Because more often than not, it's Interpol and NCA, which is NCA, the National Crime Agency in the UK. These are the countries who get the first tip-offs from countries where the drugs have been shipped from Brazil or Mexico or Honduras or whatever. And then the guys in Nigeria, Senegal, and Morocco and Turkey go and start inspecting. So when the tip-offs are coming from the likes of Interpol and NCA, can we not have a situation where Interpol acts as an intermediary, and they are the guys in these fragile environments, making sure that the judgments are fair, fast, and crews aren't unfairly detained?
I think it would be ideal if there was a body out there respected by complex environments who could act like that. But I fear it's a very difficult idea to put into practice. There are a number of seafarers in difficult environments who are under arrest and are in jail, and they're effectively being held hostage by governments, and hostage in a crude way, that if money became available, they would be released. Whether there is a body, whether it's Interpol, and I don't know a lot about the structure of Interpol and how it's all put together, but I would doubt that they would step up and say that they had jurisdiction to intervene on any particular case unless they were called in by the authorities in that particular jurisdiction. It's difficult.
What do you think, Mr. Shi?
Yeah, I think as we mentioned in the first question, and also Josh had the same view with me, because involving in the other country's jurisdiction is quite difficult. But if we look at the thing from another point of view, like risk assessment and risk mitigation point of view, I think if we can package that as risk control measures without labeling any government, without interfering any legal procedures in particular countries, I think that could be a way to make awareness of the shipping industry, and crew members especially, to pay attention to a certain level, which is kind of matching the risk level of the places they go. I think that may be the approach, but I don't think there's a readily available platform yet. But again, I think we must be very cautious to not labeling any country, because sometimes it's even worse than the rescue procedure. So I think like other candidates have a better idea.
Mr. Gilbert, would you agree?
Yes. Yes, I think actually centralized reporting and coordination will provide ship owners and operators with a direct channel to report incidents of drugs smuggling, facilitating prompt and coordinated response. And I think Interpol is a group of policemen, yes, and is the appropriate body to assist in the speedy and fair resolution of such cases. I noticed that Interpol published its first silver notice, which is to help trace and recover criminal assets and combat transnational organized crime and enhance international police cooperation. I think this is the newest addition to Interpol's suite of color code notice and diffusions, which I think will enable countries to share alerts and request for information worldwide. So very much.
All right, Soma?
If it is internationally accepted, especially among member states, of course, it's going to be a good way to start. But the challenge is what George and quietly on the side talking about is local jurisdiction. And of course, a lot of these incidents are also politically motivated. So in practice, it's going to be extremely, extremely difficult. But ideally, if something like this happens, definitely will be
Vinay?
I think the good idea to have a body where everybody can report so that at least the information can be disseminated to and at least correct advice can be given on right time. Otherwise, say for a small ship manager or ship owner, it can be really in trouble before he realizes what has gone wrong. So the idea to have a central repository and a body is, I think, very good. Where it will sit with some location.
Yeah, I mean, in the same way, just I should Interpol the question. I meant Interpol trying to expedite decisions and prevent crew getting badly treated. Because Interpol is the first avenue where it tells the countries typically that drugs are coming into the country. That's why I chose Interpol. Now, rather than a ship owner working directly with Interpol, I'd like to throw BIMCO into this. Assuming in all cases of drug smuggling, there are quite a lot, but it's not like it's out of control. BIMCO could have a security desk, which is funded by ship owners or members or whatever. BIMCO has a centralized security desk. But all drug-related things get reported into that. And whenever it is in fragile jurisdictions, then BIMCO goes through Interpol. So, I mean, UNODC, United Nations Office of Drug and Crime, is huge. It's IMO is part of the United Nations, ILO is, so is UNODC. UNODC and Interpol work together very closely. Under the auspices of the UNODC, with BIMCO and Interpol involved, I personally think that all these drug cases can be reported into BIMCO in the security desk. And they put out these circulars, and of course, owner gets on with their own job with the clubs and everybody else, but they put out circulars, they are transparent with information, they get in touch with Interpol, and things get just dealt with in a better manner. It may be a difficult thing to achieve, but there's got to be a will to make it happen. I mean, that's my own view. What do you think about BIMCO, George? Do you think BIMCO security desk, central repository, and then Interpol will be a channel?
Well, I think absolutely right that there is a political movement, communication between governments, communication between flag states, as I mentioned before, to put this issue high on the priority and to have someone like BIMCO to be the point person in relation to this great idea, so that flag states can report in cases where they consider the seafarer has been unfairly treated. And that's actually quite important too, because we do have to remember that there are cases where seafarers have been involved criminally in drug smuggling.
Yes.
We're taking a quantum leap here from the point of investigation through to making a decision ourselves. So we have to leave it to the jurisdictions in which these vessels trade. We hope that they have proper legal system in place, proper legal representation, proper outcome. But where there is a perceived unfairness, and that can be reasonably easily identified, the process itself can indicate unfairness. To having a key point person, point organisation such as BIMCO, fantastic.
Right. Just to move on, the IMO and the ILO together, they came up with the MLC convention in 2006, and thereafter, in March this year, they set out guidelines on how to deal with unfair practices when crew are, unfairly criminalized. They gave guidelines to flag states, they gave guidelines to port state control, guidelines to the criminal is Filipino, then guidelines to the Filipino government, guidelines to the ship owner, guidelines to the seafarer themselves. Unfortunately, they are guidelines, but if strictly enforced, it'll go a long way in progressing these matters of unfair criminalization of seafaring, stopping it. We all know that collaboration is key. We all got to be at the unified mind, put seafarers first, and collaborate with each other. We cannot work independently to solve this problem. Now I'd like to throw it into the crowd. Any of you, any of the attendees, would you like to ask any questions of any member of the panel? If you're asking a member of the panel, I would suggest that you please mention the panel member's name and direct it to them. Please go ahead. Sure. Abhinav?
I have a question for Mr. Kadani. Sir, like we have flights, we have airplanes, we have the pilots. Each time they come into an airport, there's a support organization, a support structure in place. Can we establish something similar for seafarers across all the ports, despite there being major and minor ports?
I think very good thought. NLC requires it to have support system, but very, very difficult to maintain. Very few ports have it today. Even in our time when we were sailing what we have, I think that also is reduced now. So very good thought, but I think very difficult to implement because different jurisdictions, nearly what 180 countries, their own ports, their own methods. So, very difficult. I mean, even if we can implement the guidelines, what Captain Prabhakar is talking about, only I think Belgium has accepted the guidelines as a law now, that they will implement it. If most countries can just adopt that, they will treat the people fairly, as seafarers fairly, that is good enough as far as I see for this particular case.
Mr. Gupta?
Thank you. I have a question for Captain Soma. With reference to the Indonesia case that you mentioned, where the seafarers may require extended support as well as legal help as well as salaries, and you don't have any more relationship with the concerned owner, what's the extent and duration of support from the P&I clubs?
That's an ongoing discussion with them. So in principle, they don't say yes, they don't say no. Like Captain Prabhakar mentioned, that the moment there is, and in this particular case, it's criminally charged. Obviously, the P&I club, there's a discussion which is going on with them, but meanwhile, the support to the concerned captain is continued by fleet management, not only with respect to his wages, that's the least we can do, but also continuing to fight the case for the earlier students. So I just hope that next year, early next year, we're hoping that the gentleman will be done. So from our end, yeah, all support to the P&I club. Assists or not assisted is the second.
Jimmy, you want to ask that question, right?
I can only think of, what Vinay said, really struck a chord with me as the low-hanging fruit. Yeah, getting the P&I club informed and those people as the security cover, the kavach in Hindi they call it, and putting that sort of barrier before the local playing game starts and they start putting people under pressure and the statements, etc. I think getting P&I get involved right in the beginning as soon as possible, that's the lowest hanging fruit in my opinion. It's just a comment.
Please.
I am just representing the whole of IG, take it like that, just as a P&I club frame handler, because P&I was mentioned over Naveen, and also as someone who has personal connection with Captain Yu's case, because I was amongst the first to have been informed of that case. Unfortunately, as any P&I club of any international group, P&I clubs are only ensuring the legal liability of a ship owner. So anything to do with the ship owner, to the vessel, yes, it is absolutely taken care by the P&I clubs for a right. But when it comes to a criminalization of a seafarer, as an ex-seafarer, yes, I could absolutely from day one see that Captain Yu should not have been in that state how he was. So as an individual, as an ex-seafarer, yes, I did things which I could do. I went over and beyond what normally a club handler may not have done. But when it comes to a local court criminally issuing a judgment that so-and-so individual was found, was criminally prosecuted, the P&I club has no choice but to take a step back. Doesn't mean that they will not get involved at all at any stage. We have instances where we have supported ship owners, paid about $500,000 worth of legal fees in getting the vessel and the crew released. Unfortunately, in that Honduras case, that didn't happen for various reasons, and so that is a point which was in my mind, which I wanted to make it that P&I cover, again, like mentioned, it is very discretionary, and when things all settles and when discussed with the club by the respective owners, things might get resolved. Thank you.
Owen?
It's a crazy thought. It's a crazy thought. We are all here to ship that actually make money, right? So we trade ships from port A to port B, for freight, for hire, for whatever else happens. Can we think of something like this? If this is something which is so high priority and so touchy, why can we as managers or ship owners or charters, or rather than asking bodies or international organizations or something like that, why can we not simply stop trading so-called high-risk areas? Simply say, well, my crew, like ship managers, can simply turn around and tell their owners when contracting ships that our ships will not call port A, port B, or country A, country B, country C until things are stabilized. Yes, it will hurt our pockets, but at the end of the day, we're not going to land up having a poor man sitting in jail for 8 years or 10 years or whatever else have you, and going through all this problem for what? Just a thought. Just a thought.
Just, if I may answer that. That's exactly what happened in one of the Nigeria cases. Several ships were detained in Nigeria, including one of ours. For the last ship, where the crew were there for more than 3 years in jail, the ship owner just did exactly that. During the entire duration of the imprisonment, they never traded to Nigeria, and they stopped trading to Nigeria per se. Even after the the crew was released. And for the crew to be released, they had to enter into a plea bargain agreement. They had to pay $4.5 million to get that crew released to the Nigerian government. So they don't trade to Nigeria. Pacific Basin stopped trading from Santos, Brazil to Lagos throughout the duration of the crew's arrest. Likewise, we stopped trading to Honduras throughout Captain Yu's imprisonment. These things do happen.
The thought is like it should be kind of, not one company, but maybe, like managers, you all control probably 3/4 of the world fleet. Okay, 50% of the world fleet, which 1/5? Okay, 1/5%, at least 15% of the world fleet, and how many, seafarers or whatever. At least if you guys take that step, nipping it in the bud, I think that would probably reduce, if not eliminate, the entire story.
Okay, good point. Other questions? Captain Kakala?
Yes, the ship being the fourth largest tonnage registered flag state. I'm just drawing attention to upcoming MLC regulations, where a lot of stress was importance paid to the flag state in protecting the alleged criminalization of crew. So it's just another year to go. So just wondering what are the steps being taken or how it's going to be enforced. Of course, this first for you, later to the leading ship managers, Captain Vinay and Mrs. Omar.
Yeah, I think not only for actually it's not only for the crew matters, for all matters related to marine, and the Hong Kong Marine Department has flag administrator. We fully comply with all the IMO regulations, and for crew it's MLC, and we have a lot of local regulations based on MLC, so we can enforce. I think I gave some example just now, whether from the issuing of the DMC certificate by the flags, or the audit of the ships, audit of the companies, and that's the legal enforcement measures we can do. And secondly, as a flag registration, we have this platform IMO in the International Maritime Organization, and we have this connection and talks with other flags. But for this particular case, for the criminalization matters, because it is a legal issue, even the IMO and just now Captain Soares have mentioned the 2 guidelines. Even in IMO, the 2 guidelines actually was developed by the legal committee. So we can find this is very much legal, and it's a jurisdiction issue. So I think for a flag or for the ship owners, if we can only focus on the ship itself, it's not enough. if we can only focus on shipping, it's not enough. I think the whole industry need to approach a wider scope to deal with these legal issues, especially it is in land-based ecosystem. It's not a marine. It's not a marine time law. It's not related to maritime law. It's actually criminal law on the individual jurisdictions. So I think we need to put a broader scope to deal with these issues. That is my view.
Specific time frame has been developed. Any specific framework, any specific framework has been developed in protecting the crew.
For this particular case, as what I have experienced, I think the what can help is from the diplomatic way. Yeah, I think that's only from my experience. Of course, ship owners through the legal approach, they can do a lot. But if we said the legal system of that country is fragile, then we cannot fully rely on legal system.
All right. Not today. Anybody, any other questions? You got time for one more question? All right, please.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Flora. I am working as a vessel coordinator from Pacific Basin. And I actually just haphazardly typed my question here. But anyone from the panelists can answer me. I don't mind who. And I am a vessel coordinator, as I mentioned. And being master mariners yourselves, Judge, what would be your advice to a vessel coordinator like me? Someone who is not physically on the vessel, someone who is safe within the four corners and the comfort of the office. What would be your advice to me so I can, in one way or another, possibly identify that there is something wrong with the cruise? How can I encourage and empower them to speak up and tell me their concerns? Concerns that I may not be aware of because I am thousands and thousands of miles away from them. How can I be more empathetic and sympathetic to the crew? Setting aside the technicalities which we have been talking about for the last hour, and I'm not going to pretend that I know much with the technicalities. How do you think a vessel coordinator, no matter how small, can help and actually make a change and help in the efforts to stop this unfair criminalization of our seafarers? That would be.
Yeah, can I direct this question directly to Vinay? Would you answer that? And what have you missed out? Soma will answer the rest. Go ahead.
So we are in ship management business, so it's basically about people. So taking care of the people is the first thing. So as vessel coordinator or a person dealing with people, the first thing would be to educate everyone, like we said, that you have to be doing your job right. Don't forge anything you see wrong, report immediately. You have methods, I'm sure your company would also have methods where crew can directly report to the highest management. We have 2-3 such channels where the crew can report any of the crew to use those. So just guiding people through so that they have confidence in you, that if they see anything wrong, doubt, either they can contact you or they can directly report the matter anonymously so that issues are taken off. All of us are here to solve the problem, but we must get the information on time. That's what I think would be best.
Soma?
Have you ever visited a ship? Okay, so you understand the dynamics. First is understanding and appreciation of what goes on a ship, right? So it is all about the connect, the positivity. Seafarers are very simple people. You would have realized that by now, right? So they're all there to do a job, a good job, carrying the cargo from A to B safely. And all they need is appreciation, a pat on the back when things go right, and a learning when things doesn't go the way you want it to be. And it's about what Captain Vinay said. every person within the full complement should be empowered to speak, and there should be a mechanism to pass on whatever they feel to the company and without any fear of retribution. That happens, it's going to be a perfect world as far as the company and the seafarers are concerned.
I'd like one more person to give that answer, that's Calvin Lam. Calvin, by the way, he used to be an operator in Pacific Basin. He's probably gone through the phase you're going through, Flora. And now he's moved on, he works as a chartering manager somewhere else. Would you put yourself in Flora's shoes and try to answer this question?
Sorry, just remind me real quick, the question is basically how to develop more, how can we, as people who sit in the office, develop more sympathy and empathy for the crew at SC, is that right?
That's right. You might want to stand up so everybody can hear you. Stand up and face the crowd.
Right.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, thanks Suresh for putting me on the spot here.
My pleasure, absolutely.
So, yeah, I have to say, as Suresh said, I think I just a little background, I'm really fortunate to have my start in shipping in Pacific Basin, despite I don't work with, work at Pacific Basin anymore. I think in terms of center of practice, how our attitude towards seafarers, and also what kind of practices we develop, our experience in terms of like protecting seafarers. Pacific Basin, is a real institution in the industry. That's without a doubt, for sure. So I think it boils down to very simple, it's a very simple thing. Like the panel said, you just have to realize that these are people doing a job, very often a very dangerous job. And, it's a tough environment out there. They're alone. You just have to put yourself in their shoes. And having a start in operations, you have, as an operator, you have more communication with the crew on a daily basis. So with that experience, I can relate to them more. Now that I'm on the chartering side, I'm a little bit further removed from the realities at sea, but having that experience, it never really only reminds me that, when I'm seeing a ship on market, when I'm doing calculations, like in the back of my mind, I realize these are people out there. I'm moving, it's from one port to the other, it's just numbers on the computer, but you remind yourself that these are people that you're kind of help directing to do a job. And you have that in the back of your mind that, just remind yourself to put yourself in their shoes. And these could be, these people have families, this could be your uncle, your brother, your father, to your sister. And, when you do these kind of trades, you kind of have their concern in the back of your mind. So that helps add some bit of humanity to the job.
So well said, Calvin. Very well said. If I may just add a little bit there, Flora. Lastly, I might just want to say that whether you're operating an own ship or a chartered ship, if you ever feel a sense of insecurity, in the sense that you feel that the crew is not performing and you believe that there's something wrong, there's no problem for you to ask the master, because operator speaks to the master all the time. You can ask the master, the captain, is there something wrong? Can we help you with something? Is there anything wrong with your ship or whatever? And whatever he lets you know, you can elevate it up the chain to people in the office, whether it's our technical department or the immediate superior, the operations department. And if it's a chartered ship, you can certainly contact the chartered ship owner through the head operators or through your immediate supervisor to solve the problem. You don't have to take the entire responsibility yourself. Thank you. I think we ran out of time. Thank you very much, the panel. Thank you very much.
So nothing goes without saying thanks to all of you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Captain Sanjeev Verma, Chairman of the Institute of Chartered Brokers Hong Kong branch. First of all, fantastic panel discussion, and appreciated Captain Prabhakar to come out of this idea of this topic. And none can be better than you 5 people sitting on the stage. And absolutely, we have overrun, but still, people are still looking at you people, not on the backside. So this means that it is really good. Of course, this topic has been very close to all of us as an ex-seafarer myself. It is always a doubt or a back of your mind that, like, in a country where you are going, well, what kind of legal support will be available to you? We might not have all the answers tonight, but definitely a lot of food for thought for all of us. And as our colleague Mr. Makkar has mentioned, many things are there in parallel being worked. There are some low-hanging fruits, obviously. As a seafarer, if you are a master of a ship and something do happen, probably the best thing for you is to just let your local PNI club rep to be called ASAP before you call your office or anybody else because of time zone differences. So that's one thing, like, but of course, there are many, many other things which has been spoken by our panelists. So thank you so much once again for, and our audience, actually lovely audience who's been sitting quiet for an hour and a half, just waiting for this conversation to get over at the bar. It's a Friday evening, so I'm not going to stay longer over here. Thanks everyone again, and thank you to all our sponsors who has been very importantly supporting ICS branch. All of you know that ICS is a non-profit organization. We do organize these events. We are into the education. We encourage the people who are not from shipping background to come, do join us. We have a fantastic educational programs. We have teachers who are working for us, who can provide knowledge, education, share with you. So do come and talk to us. ICS membership is one of the things which a lot of people think that, like, you got to write a lot of papers to attain the membership. So good news for you. Our head office and the colleagues who have been working tirelessly, including our own Mr. Sarat Gupta, to make sure that from next year onward, we might have an online examination if all goes well. And that will be a great relief to many people who are tired of writing 3 hours paper. So I believe more and more members will join ICS at that time. Just the last point, you know that ICS being having this twice in a year examination. Our examinations are the one which is in November. The last deadline to submit your application is 9th of October. So those who are planning to apply for PQ examination, please do so. 9th October is the last deadline. So with that, I wrap it up. Thank you so much, and thank you all very much. Thank you.
Yeah, can I request now our moderator Suresh to hand over the plaques to each of the panelists? George?
Please.
Soma? Very good. She? And Vinay. I request our chairman, Captain Sanjeev Verma, and I was saying Sanjeev Bhargav, and Mr. Sharad Gupta, who is our vice chairman, please present the flag to our moderator, Captain Suresh Prabhakar. You can do it on down there. Oh. And thank you so much, everyone. It's been one of the best panel discussions that we have had with a very, very good and most important topic that faces us. And please, you must be very thirsty by now. Just like everybody else said. Okay, let's go. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind.